But now it's time for our main event, what you've all been waiting for, a break. And I don't mean time off work. Your next big break, or I guess for the corporate world, your next big presentation. So why don't we get started? Over to you, Sarah.
Thanks for the introduction, Dick. And as we go through this talk today, you'll see how Dick has actually implemented some of the exercises or themes that I'm going to be talking about today. Okay, so I just want to make sure everyone can see the PowerPoint as well. So hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be your keynote speaker today. We'll be talking about different aspects of what it takes to be a good public speaker and conquer your nerves around it. But nerves are normal, though. Even I had to implement some of these techniques for today's presentation. You know, climbing the ranks from art talks to keynote speaker, I got to manage my nerves as well. But as an actor, I found parallels between my time on set or on stage and then presenting the art talks to you all. And then it hit me. Acting skills are life skills. So today I want to share some of the valuable lessons from the world of acting and how I've seamlessly applied them to elevate my public speaking abilities. So the first general topic that I want to cover is improvisation. Have you ever found yourself frozen in panic when maybe a presentation takes an unexpected turn? I certainly have, but fear not, because the art of improvisation or improv is here to save the day. Just like an actor, you have to commit wholeheartedly to the presentation and the conversation of what your audience is asking. Some of the best and most informative presentations are when the audience feels connected to the topic by asking questions or feeling involved in some sort of way. So while this might be a little nerve-wracking to the presenter, having confidence is really key to being able to improv. And one of my favorite things to do, and something that I believe is totally acceptable when you don't know the answer to an audience question, is honesty. And I've actually done this in my art talks. If maybe someone asks a question about an artist or a painting that I don't know the answer to, I just say, I'm not quite sure of that. Let me look into it and I'll get back to you. So this really shows your ability to be comfortable even in situations where you don't have all the answers. So let me share some common improv skills. The first one is going to be comedic relief. So picture this. You're knee deep in data, maybe explaining a complex diagram or chart. Throw in a funny analogy or an inside joke or maybe a laughably bad pun to break the tension. A little comic relief can go a long way in engaging your audience. But now there's no need to force jokes or puns if they don't come to you, but just knowing how to not take yourself too seriously is going to relax you as the presenter and your audience as well. So now it's question time. Hands are up and it's really your moment to shine. So remember the key, active listening. Break down the questions in your mind, and if needed, ask for clarification. Remember, it's a conversation, not a monologue. And again, don't fret if you don't have the answer. Just be succinct and precise when answering questions, and admit when you don't know something rather than trying to make something up in the moment. So the concept of yes and is vital to improv. A few months ago, I took an improv class at the Groundlings, which is a historic improv and sketch comedy studio in Los Angeles. And yes and is really the first rule of improv. And it just means that you're committing to, you're saying yes and accepting where a scene is going rather than negating and pushing back against it. So for example, in this class, we would do partner scenes. So we would get up in front of the class and maybe the teacher would give us, let's say, a relationship, husband and wife, for example. And that's all you get to start the scene. So the scene begins, and let's say that my scene partner starts a shoveling motion. I'm going to look at that and I'm going to hop on board. I'm going to say yes to that. And I'm going to start shoveling as well. And then you see where the scene can take you. Maybe we're gardening in our yard or burying a dead body. I mean, you don't know. That's just the beauty and the fun of improv. Now, if I saw my scene partner shoveling and I ignored or negated that action and started to do the action of brushing my hair, it just creates friction or an unnecessary obstacle that we now have to overcome and justify in our scene. So with relation to public speaking, you can embrace the yes and. Find maybe a point in an audience question that you agree with and build on it. It's really a fantastic way to formulate thoughtful responses. But improv is just the beginning of our journey through the art of public speaking. While improvisation adds spontaneity, there are moments when a memorized script becomes your greatest ally. So we'll explore some techniques from actors that will help anyone that's giving a speech. The first is repetition. Repetition is key. Practice until you can't get it wrong. Remember, it's not about practicing until you get it right. It's about repeating until you can't get it wrong. So find an activity to do while you recite your lines or your speech. And this will really test if you know that you can do it while folding laundry, for example. It's also important to hear and feel the words out loud before giving your speech. This is going to help you feel more confident when you give the actual speech, and it'll help you connect to the material and what you're saying. Rehearsing out loud in front of family and friends, or even in front of the mirror, can really enhance your delivery. I mean, I rehearsed this keynote speech in front of my family a couple of times before today. And it'll also help with warming up the mouth and the jaw and the throat. It's really about feeling and hearing your words and connecting with your material. Speed reading. It's not just for books. Fun one is to rehearse your script at lightning speed, and it's fun to see how fast you can do it without even thinking about it. It's like training your brain's muscle memory for the big performance, and it's just another tool to help you know your speech backwards and forwards. There's also power in putting pen to paper. Maybe write down challenging sections of your speech. It can activate parts of the brain linked with learning and memory. I actually had an acting teacher that urged me to write out my lines for my scenes or monologues with no punctuations or breaks, just the words without emotion. And this will also help if you're more of a visual learner versus an auditory learner. It just helps with getting the words themselves. Also, avoid the exam night cramming. Spread your practice over days or weeks. It's not only going to reduce your stress, but it'll promote long-term memory. And again, it's just about being more comfortable when you get up there. And when you practice your heart out, just take a break. A well-deserved rest, a walk, a good sleep will really help consolidate your script. And this is really my magic trick for memorizing lines on a tight schedule. If I get an audition that's due the next day or in 2 days and it's a lot of script, what I like to do is spend a day focusing on it, learning my lines as much as I can, do all my prep work, put it away for a bit, and then revisit it as the last thing I look at before I go to sleep at night. And it's really something magical that happens. Your brain just stores it in your hard drive overnight. And I usually wake up the next day having a lot more of it memorized than I would have thought. Memorization can definitely be a tricky barrier for a lot of people, but the key is using all of these different techniques, really figuring out what works for you. It's not a one-size-fits-all formula. So now that we have the words down, let's talk about how to deliver them. Your voice is your communication superpower. It's not just about the words, it's how you deliver them. I mean, you've all listened to me for 172 art talks. So this skill is important, especially with Zoom communication, when you might not be able to see my minute facial expressions. Of course, articulation is imperative. That's why it's so important to practice out loud and hear and feel how the words come out of your mouth. There are plenty of tongue twisters and warm-up exercises that I've learned in my classes, like massaging the jaw, lip trills, or even facial stretching. There's a really fun exercise we used to do in class called pumpkin face, where you stretch your face as wide as you can. You say, pumpkin face. And then you scrunch it up as small as you can. You say, itty bitty raisin face, itty bitty raisin face. And then elongate it for banana face. But maybe do that one in private. It's a little ridiculous. Another thing is pace is critical, specifically relating to breath and remembering to breathe. Dick just did a great example of this with his art talk. He was actively breathing during his speech. Sometimes when we get nervous, we want to rush through the speech and get it over with. Taking a slight moment to breathe throughout your speech, it'll relax you and just come off as more natural. I mean, imagine dropping a bombshell statistic in a presentation. Your audience needs a moment to process. Give them that moment. Pauses can be really powerful. And also going back to comedic relief, if you crack a joke and you get some laughs, bathe in that for a second. I mean, getting laughs should feel great, and you want your audience to know that it's okay to laugh, even in a professional setting. Avoid the monotony trap. Vary your pace. Commas and full stops are really your allies. Helps break down lengthy sentences for a more engaging delivery. Stress and emphasis and tone will also transform your speech, emphasizing key words to make your message stand out. It's kind of like adding bold and italics to your speech. And again, this also helps keep the audience engaged and excited when they see you getting excited about a data point or an announcement. So with vocal delivery mastered, let's explore the world of body language. Acting isn't just about the words, it's about really your entire presence. And your body language can captivate your audience. And if not capture, at least maybe keep from falling asleep. We see AJ and Jacques with a cup of coffee all the time as a prop to help with their body language. I mean, we've also seen them eating an apple. But giving a speech like this, it's not inviting. It's going to disengage the audience versus like this. It's open, it's inviting, it's exciting, and it welcomes people. Body language is what humans say without words. And the famous saying goes, actions speak louder than words, which I guess in our case could be actions inform and support our words. Guest speaker Pete Weitzner discussed the need to reach out to the audience, and it's easy to do with inviting gestures. So consider your space. Own the stage or room, or in my case right now, my home office. How you move really influences how your audience perceives you. Now, in the age of Zoom and online presentations, sometimes you're confined to the boundaries of the screen, which actually is a similar analogy to screen acting versus stage acting. The screen can limit you slightly physically, but it's important to know your framing and be able to express fully within that frame or screen. I'm not going to go run all the way over here, but I can still move within the frame. If you are in person and you choose to move, just do it with purpose. Confident, purposeful steps will really convey authority. Avoid the nervous pacing. It can be a little distracting for an audience. And when you're not moving, just try to have both of your feet firmly planted to avoid any nervous jitters or tics. Eye contact. The eyes are the window to the soul, they say. So maintaining eye contact is really helpful to connect with your audience. Look at one person, and it's like having a personal conversation with someone. Then look at someone else and someone else. So this is just going to help, again, connect to your audience and have your audience connect to you. Hands aren't just for holding notes. You can use them to emphasize, visualize, and engage. But try to keep it natural. A little too much can be distracting. And of course, we usually don't point directly at people, but there's so many other hand gestures to consider, like gesturing to the heavens or waving to someone or arms out wide. Again, this just goes with body language. Just don't keep your hands limp at your side or crossed or in your pockets. So as we wrap up the body language segment, let's focus on maybe the most difficult skill to master. So congratulations, you've made it to the end. Now it's time to relax and let all your preparation and hard work sink in. Don't forget the valuable sensation you're feeling right now, relaxation. Luis Estrada talked about the importance of relaxation during his discourse on oral presentation. Take deliberate deep breaths. Activate the parasympathetic nervous system to lower stress, blood pressure, and heart rate. I mean, warning, don't take too deep of breaths or you might pass out. Out in our audience, Susanna also introduced lighting lavender candles to induce relaxation. Maybe putting on a guided meditation will help you to relax, focus, and calm your nerves before your presentation. A good stretch also boosts serotonin levels, relaxes muscles, and enhances your overall posture. I mean, you should have seen me a couple minutes before this town hall. I was doing some stretches out in my living room. It's really the final touch before your big moment. Also, just crazy dancing works as long as you're just connecting to your body physically. Shaking out your hands is another good technique to release nervous energy. This is a well-known acting technique. And our producer once watched Sir Ian McKellen present a Shakespearean monologue, and he started the show by shaking out his hands on stage, and he asked the audience to join in. So there you have it, a crash course in using acting skills to become an awesome public speaker. And remember, above all else, we're human. Sometimes we get nervous, sometimes we make mistakes, and we aren't perfect. That is okay. These are tools that I've shared today that will hopefully help you feel more confident, comfortable, and engaging when public speaking. You don't need to be an actor to shine on your stage. And for Zoom presentations, make sure your lighting is bright enough, dress the part, and have the correct background. Now break a leg. think it's time for us to wrap things up. Let's head back to the studio.